When a new species joins the Galactic Confederation, they are asked to choose a single name, a title that represents who they are to the stars. Some choose names of glory, some choose names of terror, some choose names of pride. But when humanity arrived for the first time, they chose something no one expected. The hall was filled with the most powerful beings in the galaxy, empires that had conquered 100 worlds, civilizations older than human history itself. All of them waited to hear what the newcomers would call themselves. The human delegation walked forward calmly. 3 of them, no guards, no weapons, just 3 quiet figures, representing an entire world. The translation system glowed softly as their chosen title was spoken. The words appeared across the massive chamber, the quiet ones. At first, there was silence, and then laughter. Dozens of alien species found the name ridiculous. The Lorak prince, tall and armored in ceremonial blades, spoke loudly. Quiet ones, cowards then. A species too frightened to show strength. Others joined in. Do you hide? Do you seek protection? Is your world so weak? The humans didn't argue. They didn't raise their voices. They simply nodded, thanked the assembly, and returned to their seats without a single protest. But the Serati Chancellor, a wise insectoid creature older than most civilizations present, leaned toward her advisor. Do not laugh, she whispered. Humans, they watched everything. They measured us, and their eyes were not afraid. Her advisor dismissed her warning. They are harmless. Their delegation is barely a handful. The Chancellor's antennae lowered. That is what troubles me, she said. Days later, the galaxy found out why. The Lorak prince, hungry for recognition and eager to impress his people, ordered a raid on a small human outpost, a peaceful agricultural colony. No military presence, no defenses, nothing but families building a quiet life on a distant world. The raid was brutal, fast, pointless. When the dust settled, homes were burning, fields destroyed, children missing. An entire settlement wiped out simply to humiliate a species who had chosen a humble name. The galaxy expected the humans to beg for protection, or complain, or demand compensation. Instead, the very next day, the human delegation returned to the Grand Hall. But this time, there were more of them. 10 humans walked in, calm, steady, their faces unreadable, not angry, not panicked, just focused. The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Marin stepped forward and placed a small recording device on the central platform. He pressed play. The voice of a frightened human child filled the ancient hall. Mom, are they coming back? They're so loud, I just want it to stop. Every species suddenly felt the weight of that voice. When the recording ended, Marin looked around the hall slowly. You misunderstand our name, he said softly. We are not called quiet because we hide. We are called quiet because we do not begin conflict. We do not seek war. We do not chase glory. We live peacefully until someone takes that peace from us. His voice lowered even more. And then we become something else. The hall felt colder. Marin continued. In our language, quiet also refers to a kind of predator. One that does not roar. One that does not announce itself. One that stalks silently, patiently, until the moment it ends the threat. The Serati Chancellor inhaled sharply. She understood now, but the Lorak prince laughed again. You threaten the Lorak Empire. You who did nothing, as your colony burned. Marin looked up at him calmly. We did nothing, he repeated, because we were busy preparing. The chamber lights flickered once. Then every Lorak warship within 50 light-years broadcast the same message at the same moment. A single human voice. Stop searching the skies. We are already on your ships. Panic erupted. Across the galaxy, every Lorak military installation suddenly went dark, not destroyed, not attacked, just shut down. Silently, perfectly, as if invisible hands had simply turned them off, one by one. Not a single civilian was harmed. Not one building was bombed. Not one shot was fired. The Larak Empire was brought to its knees without a war. Humans had infiltrated everything quietly. Back in the Grand Hall, Marin folded his hands behind his back. "We do not conquer," he said. "We do not seek revenge. We do not want your worlds, your resources, or your submission." He paused. "We want only this. Leave us in peace. Let our children grow without fear. Allow us to remain quiet." Silence filled the hall. Deep, absolute, terrifying. Finally, the Serati Chancellor bowed, an act no alien had ever performed for another species in living memory. "The Confederation understands. Humanity will not be disturbed again." Marin nodded politely. "That is wise," he said, "because when the quiet ones rise, the galaxy does not hear them coming." And with that, the humans left the hall, calm, silent, and unstoppable. Ever since that day, every species in the galaxy remembered one truth: never mistake quiet for weakness, never mistake peace for fear, and never provoke a species that only wants to be left alone, because the quiet ones are only quiet until they are not. For months after the fall of the Larak Empire, the galaxy lived in a strange, uneasy calm. No species dared challenge humanity. No fleet crossed near Terran borders. No politician spoke mockingly of the quiet ones. The silence was almost sacred, but silence has a way of attracting those who fear what lives inside it. Far beyond Confederation space, an ancient species was listening, not to human words, but to the absence of them. The Thurvok Dominion had existed since before half the known empires were born. They were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They did not invade with fleets or armies. They consumed information, devoured patterns, and predicted outcomes before they happened. They claimed to understand all possible futures, but there was one thing they could not read. One species whose actions refused to follow any pattern. A civilization whose logic broke every algorithm they used. Humans, the quiet ones. The Dominion's High Oracle gathered his council. "These Terrans," he said, his voice echoing like crushed stone, "hide something, not power, not weapons. Something worse, something unpredictable." His advisors lowered their heads. "What do you propose?" they asked. The Oracle answered with a single, chilling word: "We test them." But unlike the Larak, the Thurvok did not strike a colony, or raid a ship, or attack openly. Their methods were colder, smarter, invisible. It started with whispers. Minor malfunctions in Terran systems. Navigation errors that shouldn't exist. Satellites drifting off course. Nothing hostile, but wrong enough to be noticed. Humanity didn't respond with threats. They simply watched quietly. Soon the disturbances grew. Terraforming stations began shutting down. Deep space sensors blinked out. Encrypted Terran codes started appearing on Thurvok networks codes. The Dominion believed were unbreakable. The Oracle smiled. "So," he said, "they have begun." His advisors trembled. "Should we prepare defenses?" "No," the Oracle said. "If the quiet ones truly live up to their name, they will retaliate in silence. But they cannot touch us here." He gestured to the massive data fortress that formed the heart of the Dominion, a world-sized archive protected by quantum storms and reality-warping encryption. No species has ever breached our core systems. Not once in 500,000 years. At that exact moment, the lights dimmed. Just for half a second, the Oracle frowned. "Report. Energy fluctuation," an engineer answered. "Harmless. A solar echo." But the Oracle felt something cold crawl through his mind. Something was wrong. For the first time in centuries, he felt observed. The next day, the first message appeared inside the Dominion network, on every terminal, every holoscreen, every encrypted system. A single human sentence. "Why are you watching our children?" The Oracle froze. "We are compromised," he whispered. "Seal everything." But it was too late. The Dominion's outer defenses shut down, not destroyed, simply turned off. Their predictive models flickered. Their encrypted archives unlocked themselves for a fraction of a second, long enough for Terran intelligence to map every pathway inside. Panic spread. Where are they attacking from? What ships? What direction? But there were no ships, no armies, no noise, only silence. The Oracle realized the truth too late. Humanity was not trying to fight them. Humanity was inside them. One by one, the Dominion's control hubs shut down. Their algorithmic visions collapsed into chaos. Their models, once perfect, began predicting thousands of contradictory futures. The quiet ones had turned their greatest strength, knowledge, into confusion. Finally, the Oracle found a message waiting at the core of his personal terminal. Simple, gentle, terrifying. "Do not touch our worlds again. Do not study our children. Do not reach into our homes." Then, one final line. "We warned you, we are quiet, not deaf." Everything shut off. When the lights returned minutes later, the Terran presence was gone. No trace, no signature. Nothing the Dominion could analyze or understand. Their entire predictive engine was permanently damaged. They had lost the ability to see the futures they once controlled. Days later, the human ambassador returned to the Confederation's Grand Hall. This time, every species waited silently. Ambassador Marin spoke calmly, as always. "We do not want war. We don't need territory. We don't want to rule or dominate the stars. We want only what we asked for the first day we arrived." He placed a hand over his heart. Quiet, peace. A place to raise our children without fear. He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of every leader present. "But hear me clearly. If any power decides to test us again, we will not shout. We will not roar. We will not announce ourselves." His voice dropped to a whisper that carried like a blade. "You will only notice us when it is already over." Every species understood. And from that day forward, a new rule spread across the galaxy, not through law or treaty, but through fear. If the quiet ones are silent, leave them alone. Because when humans move in the shadows, even the oldest empires tremble.